Hi, I'm Sheryl Butchin. I'm an HR consultant, and here today we have Stephen Jorgensen, and he is the founder of PoachPrevent, a platform focused on helping organizations proactively protect and retain their workforce by identifying risk signals before top talent walks out the door. His work sits at the intersection of workforce analytics, retention strategy, and leadership decision making. And a little bit more about Steve. Steve has his JD and MBA, and he has had negotiating contracts for the last 15 years. His success in business has come from being able to take a pragmatic understanding of business to maximize margins while minimizing risk through developing agile redlining strategies. He is rare in the in-house counsel field as he has a year-over-year track record of increasing revenues by a multiple of his salary through negotiating fees greater than his sales teams are able to achieve. His thoughtfulness towards contracts, business, and business operation process led him to the development of this one-of-a-kind business model. Steve has a passion for travel, culture, hiking, and exploring the world. He has spent 26 of the last 40 months abroad while working primarily throughout Latin America. In spite of his travel, Steve still has not been able to master Spanish. When back home, Steve loves catching up with friends and family, playing hockey, and taking his dog Honey on adventures. Welcome to the podcast, Steve.
Sure.
Great. I'm so glad you're here. My first question to you is non-solicit clauses have existed for decades. Why have they largely gone unenforced until now?
Well, so you think about when non-solicit clauses first started appearing in contracts decades and decades ago, like you said. Back then the resumes were not on computers. There wasn't Indeed, there wasn't LinkedIn. The resumes were hard copies. They were in file cabinets, and the industry's obviously changed so much in scale and scope over the years. When you think about staffing agencies, a few decades ago, they were more localized. You were just serving and recruiting in a local area in a much smaller market. Now, when you look at the size of the staffing agencies, most of them are national. They have recruiters all over the country. They are also recruiting people all over the country. They have data and access to people's information from even across the world. So, it's been a placeholder in contracts for a long time that kind of says, well, if I'm paying you all this money to be recruiting for us, you're not allowed to recruit from us. But there really hasn't been an evolution in that over a period of time because technology hasn't really allowed for it. The scope and scale of the companies and staffing agencies was much smaller back then. But now there's the technology available to actually match up with the employees that are nationwide, recruiters nationwide. And so that's really where we're at today.
Yes, that's a great point. Organizations rely on trusted partners. What does trust really mean if there is no verification behind it?
That's a great question. There needs to be, when you think about in the staffing industry, there's lots of compliance requirements we need to verify. To verify that the employees don't have a criminal history, that they're eligible to work in the United States, things like that. So this is one of the more important areas where there's still no verification. There's no auditing systems. I encourage people who work with staffing agencies to ask their vendors what exactly is their mechanism for ensuring that their non-solicit clauses are actually being monitored. It occurred to me on my very first day working in industry many years ago. I was looking through my first non-solicit clause, and I asked, well, what is the mechanism here? What are our protocols? How do we manage this compliance? And the short answer was that we really can't and we don't. And at best, it'd say you're at the strength of your weakest link in the chain. Their morals, their ethics, their knowledge of the business. You look at the size of a lot of the staffing agencies out there, they'll have thousands of clients and they have generally high turnover recruiters. Those recruiters absolutely do not know every single client that they are also engaged with. They don't know who the company has recently signed. They're not telling the recruiters that, especially if they're working a full desk, who their new clients are. you really do need a verification mechanism. And I hope that the staffing agencies are actually really welcoming to this to increase the strength of their partnerships. Because at this point, you're at best hoping that somebody in the chain catches that they've been reaching out to and soliciting an employee of theirs. But that's a really hard thing to catch, especially when you look at how large most of the organizations are.
Great
So,
answer. Okay. So if you're explaining this to a CFO,
sorry, go ahead.
how would you quantify the financial impact of losing employees to vendors? And how should they be thinking of vendor related talent loss as part of their workforce strategy?
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's worked with staffing agencies, especially CFOs, have seen the payments going out to staffing agencies. They are very frequently tens of thousands of dollars just for a single placement. The fees can be enormous, especially when you're talking about more senior people. So there's that direct loss of, hey, we just lost an engineer, we just lost a VP, we just lost a CHRO. And now you're going to staffing agencies and say, we need to fill that position. So now we not only need to spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to the hundreds of thousands of dollars at times for more senior personnel to backfill that position. But there's really all those other costs that aren't directly hit. You're losing knowledge of the company. You're having to onboard the person. You're having to get them integrated into the company and into the culture. So you're losing more than just that direct cost of backfilling the person. There's so many other costs that come into turning over people, having to onboard them, train them, getting caught up. If the person who left was working on a project, they need to get caught up to where the previous person who left was. So it's an enormous loss for companies. There's a reason why they negotiate these into every contract. I've been doing these for a long time. I can say my strategy has never been to directly eliminate and cut out non-solicit clause because I know that just is not going to work when I'm negotiating with a client on a staffing agreement.
Right.
They insist on it being in the contract. They want it to be there. And it's important for them for so many reasons, especially if you're in more of a niche industry, a more limited talent pool. You don't want to be paying your vendors to fill positions where they just took your personnel away from you on the other side of things. So it really is such an enormous cost. So creating those trusted partnerships, because you are sharing a lot of information with your account managers and people that you're working with on a staffing agency to make sure that you're getting the right fit. And with that knowledge share, if you aren't also able to trust them that they're always acting in good faith and not soliciting your employees, then that is, very much a real problem. And even in instances where everybody you're working at arm's length with is working in good faith with you, you never know what recruiters are also working on the other side of the desk that are across the country that don't even know that your company may even exist, let alone know that you're one of their clients. So there's so many costs here. So we just build in the surety into our processes so that at no cost to the clients, the staffing agencies are the ones who pay us a fee for monitoring them. So that's one of the most important parts for a model. The non-solicited obligations are on the staffing agency, consulting company. They've agreed to do it. So they are the ones with us who actually pay for it. So with us, we work directly with you or with our clients to get them set up, and we make it a compliance requirement in order for them to be in good standing with you as a vendor, that they have to be engaged with us and submit a simple monthly report. We look at that report. We have a bunch of different data analytics tools we use to make sure that there aren't any potential violations. And then we work with the staffing agencies to resolve any potential conflicts that align with whatever our client's non-solicited clause directly says.
That's amazing. That is a huge financial loss. Is this really about bad actors, or is it a structural gap where no one is accountable for enforcement?
I don't like to think that it's largely an issue with bad actors. Of course, in every industry, in every field, there are always going to be some people who may act in bad faith, and especially if you're looking at people that are in a sales role where their financial security directly depends on making deals and finding people. There are, of course, going to be people that do act in bad faith, and that's my job is on the line. I need to hit this number. I need to fill this role. I don't think that the company is going to catch me. It's very rare for clients to be able to ever actually catch their staffing agency partners in soliciting their employees. It's really, frankly, almost impossible, except for some outlier circumstances. I think everybody who works in talent acquisition does know that it happens. So I do think most people do act in good faith. I think there are times where people may be feeling the pressure of not maybe losing their job, not hitting their numbers, or something like that, may act in bad faith as well. But we didn't build PoachPrevent as a tool thinking that all of these companies are acting in bad faith. We are just here to provide surety. Without us, there's really no way, frankly, for staffing agencies to actually monitor this compliance. Like I said before, there's so many recruiters that are working with people all over the country, across the world. They're reaching out to them. Companies are getting new clients all the time. They have no way of really checking and making sure and auditing that somebody is not an employee that they're reaching out to, because they might have old resumes too. They could be reaching out and saying, hey, we have this job, to somebody, and they have in their applicant tracking system data for somebody from, a job prior, and they're just reaching out to their personal email or personal phone number. And that's where they do most of the direct, work in trying to recruit people and solicit them to work for one of their other clients. So we're here to bring that surety to make sure that it's not happening, to catch it early and quickly. If it does happen, we just basically try and make sure that the engagement has been stopped, they've ceased and desisted, and then we can help everybody go forward with having a more trusted partnership.
That's amazing. That's great. Okay. From a talent acquisition perspective, does this create a more disciplined and ethical recruiting environment?
Yeah, absolutely. That we are absolutely creating a more ethical recruiting environment. We're here to build trusted partnerships between the staffing agencies and their clients. The more that the clients know that their staffing agencies aren't violating their trust, aren't using information to reach out and solicit their employees to find their talent and to bring them elsewhere, the more that they can share information, the more they can work in partnership together. So I look at this as a tool to help. Like I said, we don't charge our clients anything. The staffing agencies pay us a small monthly fee for doing their compliance auditing, and we give them surety that they aren't going to do something that is going to disrupt a business partnership that would all ultimately be very successful and profitable for them.
Terrific. Do you see this becoming a standard requirement in staffing vendor agreements?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I built it. Uh,
That's an
you know,
easy answer, right?
yeah, yeah. So, in the industry, there's all kinds of requirements. I talked about earlier. There's background check requirements, things like that weren't a standard requirement in every contract 20, 30 years ago, but now they are a requirement in almost every agreement. They'll tell you sometimes even who you have to do your background check through and things like that. So I think without PoachPrevent, you're putting this clause into the contract, but it really doesn't have any value. So if you care enough to make sure that you put it in the contract, then why wouldn't you care enough that at no cost to you, you require your staffing agency vendors to pay a small monthly fee to make sure that they're living up to the requirement they've agreed to.
If organizations are investing heavily in retention, engagement, and culture, but not addressing vendor driven talent loss, are they solving the wrong problem?
I wouldn't say that they're solving the raw problem, but they're definitely not solving the problem altogether. If you are, especially you're a large company, you may have a few dozen even staffing agencies that you're working with, and you're investing heavily into your talent. You're paying them a lot of money to find you the top talent, and you have that top talent. You certainly don't want them also recruiting away that top talent away from you. So you're putting a lot of money into making sure you're trying to keep your employees, keep them engaged, keep them happy in a good place. But you're also not making sure that people that you're partnering with aren't trying to take them away from you, bring them somewhere else, and somewhere else is also trying to invest into retention engagement. Sure. So if you care about your people and you care enough to make sure that you want this in your contract with your staffing agencies, I don't see how you can be trying to address talent loss without making sure that it's kind of the calls are coming from inside the house, right?
Yes, absolutely. A huge benefit. Thank you very much for all you've shared with us today. I really appreciate all the information and I look forward to a very successful company for you. Is there anything else that you want to share with business leaders about your new site?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would just love to tell you a little bit about the process of joining and working with us. So it was very much built for 2 years as a platform to be very friendly, not only to our clients, but also to the staffing agencies. I've worked with them for a long time with a lot of great people. This isn't built to be punitive. This is built to build trust between business partnerships and meant to do it very quickly and effectively. So that the data that goes in is, processed in a number of different ways and tools to make sure and see if there are any ways that or any potential non-solicited violations. When we get a new client, the process is very simple, a straightforward MSA. Like I said, we are not charging our clients any fees directly at all. So it's a pretty straightforward agreement to do the services. From there, we have an amendment template for them to exchange with all their staffing agency vendors. That includes standard non-solicit terminology, remedies, and things like that, as well as just a simple requirement that in order to be a vendor in good standing, that they have to be working with PoachPrevent. It's one page. We help draft it, modify it to any specific remediation requirements that our clients want. From there, it's a very simple one-page amendment. Just fill in the party names and give it to the staffing agencies. Once that's executed, we work quickly again with the staffing agencies. We charge a small nominal fee, about $100 a month for them for their compliance obligations. We think is more than fair. And then from there, the implementation process is literally just a few minutes. So in order for me to onboard a new client, we've tested it out a lot with 10 agencies. It is less than 10 minutes for me to fully onboard a client, send over invitations to anybody that they want, to also have access to the system, and then also onboard all of the staffing agencies. So it's a remarkably fast process to implement and onboard. And from there, we just need a simple data rosters of our clients' personnel, and that can be updated as frequently or infrequently as our clients would like. And then from there, we require monthly reporting from our staffing agencies, as well as an annual report that we audit as a catch-all to see if there are any potential violations to non-solicit. When there are potential violations, we have a system built in where the staffing agency can submit evidence if there's an applicable carve out or something else that happened that triggered the potential violation. We collect the evidence, we review it, we compare it and check it against the non-solicit obligations, and everything's okay, then there's no issue. And then if there is a violation that has occurred, we already have the system or process to remedy it already worked out. But from the client side, it is just a few minutes of your time every year to have the surety that that your staffing agency vendors are always acting in good faith, not violating their obligations. And again, it's at no cost to the client.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. And I really appreciate all your time and the information today.
Thank you so much for your help. It's
Best
been a
of
pleasure.
luck in your new company.
Thank you. It's exciting.